Monday, June 21st, 2021 Township Committee meeting to order. Please rise for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United
States
States
of America
and
to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided pursuant to the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law by posting a notice of this meeting on the bulletin board in the municipal building and by publication in the Press of Atlantic City and the Star Ledger on January the 11th, 2021. Mr. Cheek? Here. Mr. Gishard?
Present.
Mrs. Link?
here.
Mr. Vitale?
Here.
Mayor King.
Here. At this point, I'd like you to join me in a moment for private reflection, please. All right, we'll move on to, we have no guest presentations. Item 1, addition and deletion of late agenda items to be considered for action tonight. We have none. And do we have anybody signed up for early public comment?
No, Mayor.
No. All right, so we'll move on to number 3. 3A is the resolution amending the 2021 budget. So we have we originally, as you know, had a presentation several months back regarding the situation here in Hamilton, and at that point we were looking at a possible 3% tax increase in the township. After we received the ARP money from the state and the guidelines on how to use that money, we were able to get that down to a 1.4 cent increase using their guidelines. Unfortunately, Hamilton has done a great job holding the line on the budget. Unfortunately, the pandemic caused a $30 million loss in commercial ratables, and via the state guidelines, that money that we received, which was $1,347,398.30, could not be used to offset that. So that's why we're still faced with a 1.4 cent increase. But I want to make it perfectly clear, your township department heads, the township employees, and your governing body did everything they could to hold the line this year through one of the most difficult years that we've probably seen in our lifetime. And with their guidelines and the amount that we received, we were able to get it to a 1.4 cent tax increase.
What was the original proposed increase?
3 cents, Mrs. Link.
3 cents. And the documentation that Cindy received was very extensive, but she was able to hone that down to 1.4%, which was a spectacular thing through the federal government to forward that money to us. And is there still money on the table?
Yes, there's, the first tranche is received this year, and then the second tranche is next year. So we'll be doing our same revenue loss calculation to see after we get through 2021 to see what the results of that are for reporting in 2022.
Okay, so that's a good thing as well. Yeah.
We maxed out at $1,181,321.03, which will leave us a balance on this year for around $166,000. And if you look at the department reports, Cynthia provided us with a list of things that could be used for moving forward, but we used every available cent we could to lower the burden on the township residents.
It's very good. Yeah.
Any other questions?
So the money next year, same rules next year?
Same rules
Same
next
rules.
year. It's for 4 years.
And how much is the money for next year as well?
It's half. You get half of your allotment this year and half next year.
which was from the federal government, $2 million, correct?
Yeah, it's, I'll give you the exact
Two
number.
million, $694,796.61.
There you go.
Well, I'm glad you had that figure in front of you.
I try to do my homework.
Okay,
Is every year for 4 years it gets cut in half?
No, the whole amount, as the mayor said, was our whole amount. We get half this year, half next year. We have 4 years to spend or realize the revenue.
And listen, one can hope with the pandemic in the rearview mirror, we won't suffer the same fate that we did this year with the burden of that substantial commercial tax rate loss. So, are there any other questions, comments?
yeah, how about, now, according to the statistics, we have collected what percentage of the taxes this year?
I'm not,
You were at,
I did not bring that information.
about
For
98?
last year,
Yeah, for last year.
we're about 99%.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the people are paying their taxes even though they might be out of business.
Yes, they are.
Okay. Well, let's hope that continues and that they survive.
Right.
Okay.
if there are no other questions or comments, I'll entertain a motion, committee.
I move to accept the amended 2021 budget.
We have a
Second.
motion.
I'll second.
We have a motion and a second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
And Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, item 3B is the resolution adopting the 2021 budget as amended.
No, it doesn't matter.
So moved.
Have a motion?
Second.
Motion second. Roll call, Rita, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and adopted.
We are going to remove item 4A from the agenda this evening. It's not necessary. We'll move on to 4B. 4B has to do with reopening the municipal building here in Hamilton. Peter, do you have that in front of you by chance?
Yeah, Mayor, I met with the police chief, who's your emergency management coordinator, and several department heads, and I think we can safely reopen the building the first business day after the 4th of July holiday. The employees, all the offices have glass between them. The mask mandate has been withdrawn by the CDC under certain guidelines. The governor ended the emergency declarations that we've been operating the last 15 months. I think we need to let the people back in the building.
I think it's time. I agree.
I definitely agree. It's kind of hard to get in to see those people who you really want to see, and I think it's about time that we open it.
Makes things very cumbersome.
We'll still practice social distancing and protecting employees' concerns about it, but I think that walk around the building, I think it's pretty safe for people to come in and go to respective offices. Also makes it easier on staff to conduct business than what they've been doing for the last 15 months. So I would just ask for a motion authorizing the building to be open on that day, which would be Tuesday, July 6th.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Rita, I'll take a roll call on this one, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we'll move on to 4C. 4C is interviews for the Township Administrator position. Peter, if you will.
I provided the Township Committee with a memo. I met with the Personnel Committee. They identified 4 candidates to interview. Since you have a special meeting next Tuesday on the 29th on the Green Acres, which probably shouldn't last more than 30 minutes, the recommendation was to conduct 2 interviews that night, and then the following week on the July 7th to have the other 2 interviews then. After we do those 4 interviews, you can determine whether or not any of those candidates are qualified and decide what the next step is. If you do identify the qualified candidates there, then a couple of weeks later, you can schedule a second interview, a more detailed interview with them.
How do
So,
we get 4 candidates? That's all that applied? All that were qualified?
well, there was 14 to 15 individuals that applied for the position, going through the personnel committee. 4 kind of rose to the top as the cream of the crop, and instead of burdening you with interviewing 7 or 8 people, we thought we'd only bring in what we perceived as top 4 candidates. And it was my understanding that the entire committee authorized the personnel committee to shorten the list for the entire township committee.
I think that should be made available to all of us, not just the personnel committee, that we look through those applications also and give our own opinion whether only 4 are worth investigating. So I don't know how that can be done. I would like to make a motion that we have more availability of those applications so that we, Rodney and I, and the whole committee can look at those and see whether we would address maybe 4, 5, 6 people. We really want to do this correctly, and I think our opinion counts.
Absolutely. I agree your opinion counts. And if you recall, we had a meeting and we discussed it in great detail that, as Mr. Miller just outlined, that the Personnel Committee would do the heavy lift and narrow it down to bring forth qualified candidates that would then be considered.
No, that
You're
was
more-
only
that is
for
what
the
was
interim.
discussed.
That was
is what
only for the interim, not for the regular. I'm sorry, I interfered with what you're saying. But I did not understand that to be for all the candidates. I only understood that to be for the interim. So I would like to take a look at some of those other applications.
You're more than welcome to take a look. You're a committee member. You're more than welcome to look at those applications.
And,
But we're
and
going to
have,
follow the process as we discussed from the beginning. At that meeting, we discussed it. We laid out a process. We motioned the process, we seconded it, and we made a decision. But you're more than welcome to, and as Mr. Miller outlined, maybe out of those 4, we don't find a candidate, and maybe you do want to look back at the other ones. You're more than welcome to look through those resumes.
well, I don't think that was a decision. The decision was the Personnel Committee was to look for the interim. We accepted that. Now, we did not accept the idea that you would, and Carl would be the only ones looking at the possible candidates and have them interview. So in the next week, before the interviews commence, Rodney and I should sit down, and Richard as well, and see what qualifications we would like in an administrator.
You're more than welcome to look at them, as I said, Mrs. Lang.
Yeah, but I would like to have us interview the ones that we sort of say we would like to interview.
What I would suggest, Mayor and Township Committee, is that when we meet next Tuesday with the first 2 candidates, we'll make copies of all the other candidates to everybody. And then on the 29th, if there's somebody there the committee wants to add to the list for the next meeting, you can supplement the list and add those additional candidates. But I think it's going to take the majority of the governing body to decide if they want to add more candidates or not. But we'll have copies of everybody's done for tomorrow,
Okay.
in your bins, so that if you want to come in and review them all, they're available for you.
That seems fair.
Okay.
You good?
Okay.
All right, so I'll entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
I'll second.
There's a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. Motion passes. Okay, 4D. 4D, June 29th, 2021, special meeting on proposed Urban Parks Initiative grant application and Green Acres enabling grant application to fund the Levy Recreational Complex Expansion Project.
I just want to give you a little more information before the hearing next week. Brett Knoll found the Green Acres urban application and also the standard Green Acres application. He's been in contact with Atlantic County Representative Green Acres. They said we can combine both programs in one hearing. So the goal is that The first urban one is a $700,000 grant that we could apply to it $500,000 grant if we're successful. It can be either used to offset the $700,000 you appropriate or added on top of it to do a larger phase one if you choose to do it that way. If we're unsuccessful with the urban aid application, we would then automatically roll into the standard Green Acres pool, which is at the 2% loan money that the Green Acres provide to a municipality over 20 years if you're successful. So I just want to make sure everybody was familiar with the program before you showed up next week for the hearing. And if there's anything else you want, Brett put together a pretty comprehensive application that he tends to submit on the 30th.
Did you say
There's two opportunities to be funded through Green Acres for this. We can't get funding from both of them for this project. It's going to be an either-or situation.
what did you mention? You mentioned the interest rate.
Yeah, when the state gives you Green Acres money, it's a 2% interest rate for a term of 20 years for their loan program.
Okay,
And that doesn't go into your ability to borrow money. That's not put against our borrowing capacity. It's a standalone through the Green Acres program.
Well, the commercial rate right now is less than 2%.
I think if we were going out for a couple of $1 million, we'd be somewhere around 2% as a municipality based upon our bond rating. I know where I worked before, on 10-year notes, we were a hair over 2. On shorter notes, we were a hair under 2. It's not something, it's a fixed 2% number. If we went out to bid, you're right, the number could be anywhere from 1.8 up to 2 point something or other. That's an unknown. But we don't have to accept it. I think we need to go through the application process, and at the end of the day, you can always say no thank you if you think you can get it in the open market cheaper. By making the application, we're not obligating ourselves to have to accept the money one way or the other.
Good to have options.
Could you explain to us what the Green Acres loans are, what stipulations they have as far as people playing on our fields? Can you explain that, please?
I understand you already accepted Green Acres money in the past, Hamilton Township, so you're subject to the Green Acre rules. The Green Acre guidelines are that whatever parks are in your open space inventory, they call it a ROSI, has to be, the public has the right to file a use of facility or whatever your process is for people to use your parks. You have the right to block out time for your youth groups and programs that you run, and whatever remaining time is and whatever your rate is that you charge to use your field. Yeah, a group of individuals from a neighboring town or a neighboring county could make application to Hamilton Township to use your fields for an event, whether it be a soccer game, baseball game, softball game, something like that.
Very good. Yeah, I think that should be pretty well known, because some people will say, oh, EHT is coming over and using our fields. And there are stipulations that allow that, but if we block out all the times that we need, we have the first priority.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, with this application, it has grants. Urban Parks Grant, Green Acres Grant. They're charging interest on the grant?
No, the urban one is up to $500,000 grant, no interest on it. Under the Green Acres program, they'll determine what part of it will be a grant and what part will be a loan when they evaluate your application.
Okay, now the grant, there's no interest, but do we have to pay that back?
No.
Okay, that's what a grant is. That's
Yes.
why I questioned.
In my prior employment, Green Acres gave us a $700,000. Well, it was up to us to decide whether they wanted a grant or a loan. If we took it as a grant, they wanted us to match it with 75% municipal funds, and there would be the 25% down payment. We were able to do a hybrid, take 250 one way and 500 the other way, or we could just take the full 700 as a 2% loan from them. So in all likelihood, if we're successful, they're probably going to present those same options to Hamilton Township as to, they'd like to leverage their money, that if they're going to take it as a grant, they want to see some matching funds come in from the municipality.
Okay.
Now, we're applying for a $500,000 grant. What specifically do we have to say that we're going to use for that? A baseball field, a hockey field? What do we specifically have to say for our grant?
What we took was the engineer's cost estimate and plan for Lightbeat Park for 100% of the park, which is a number about $5 million, and said, this is the project that we want to do. We're applying to you for your grant to go towards completion of that. So they're looking at it that the township has a very large project that they want to do, and we're looking for their grant money to assist us in doing that.
So you don't specifically have to say what engineering things have to go towards it, what fields, how much a baseball field is going to cost, or a hockey. You just in general.
When we're successful, the township, through Brett, is going to have to go back and say, the $500,000, this is how we're using it as part of our phase 1 project. These are the tasks, these are the things we're going to accomplish in phase 1. As I said before, it could be that you substitute that 500 for part of your 700, or you possibly add it to the 700 and do a larger phase 1. But you're still going to be able to determine what goes into phase 1.
So I'm not sure what is phase 1. I haven't been notified what we're doing. And I know we're doing a phase 1 for the $775,000, but I'm unsure what phase 1 involves.
Phase 1 involves the engineering costs to expand the basins, drainage, the parking lot expansion, and I believe the bathrooms and dual concession stand, and the call box, I believe. And the call box.
Yeah, can I see that in writing in my mailbox, please?
I can send you my cost estimate first thing in the
I
morning.
thought you did that. We did
I
this.
sent the plan last.
You sent the plan, but you didn't send, the overall thing is going to be $5.8 million. I'd like to find out what plan, the first phase is. Because I want it to be successful. I want the things to come forth like we've designed or planned, but I don't want to be caught short, because, we support the, athletics. We've been involved in it for the last 40 years, at our skating center. But we want to know at the end of the day, next year, what are we going to have? The following year, what are we going to have? I just would like to know a little bit more about it.
You want to be aware, and I understand that. The cost estimate has been being developed as of, even this morning, we were going through it. And it'll be available, I think, just a marked up copy. I'll issue it to everybody on the committee first thing tomorrow.
Yeah, because my understanding at reorg that Rodney and I were very instrumental in the recreation of our, municipality. But I haven't been advised or had one meeting about this whole plan. So I'm a little, I want to see what's happening, just like I would if I were doing something to my facility. I want to see the plans. Okay?
Absolutely, whatever you like. And as it was stated, obviously, phase 1, we allocated X amount of dollars. If in fact we can be fortunate enough to receive the grant money, we will probably accelerate phase 1 to include more items, but we want to see where this grant falls first.
Now, are you saying that it is, for instance, we have a $775,000 allocation for this? Are we putting the $500,000 on top of that?
Correct.
That we would, or are we just, saying
The difference.
we are replacing that which we spent of 775,000.
Right now, 775,000 has been allocated for the project over the next 775,000 this year, 775,000 next year, 775,000 the year after.
Now, are we going to have a bond every time we need it, 775,000?
No, I believe we did that all at one time. The money that was set aside, the bond, she's questioning what's been set aside. And I said, we set aside 775 this year, 775 next year, and I believe 775 the following.
Yeah, in your capital plan, which you'll find in the back of your budget, is your progression of your 6-year plan, which includes this whole project. This year, you're only authorizing, if passed tonight on the public hearing on the next section of the ordinance, will allocate phase 1. That will create the appropriation in order to start the project.
Yes, but you have a whole list of things that are going to be spent on that $2 million.
And
It
next
isn't
year,
ju-
you're going to authorize and introduce another ordinance in order to authorize the next phase.
But we're not going to need another bond to cover it, right?
Yes, you'll need a bond ordinance, which creates the appropriation in order for you to
Next year
award
as well?
contracts. Yes. For over the next 4 years, that's in your capital plan.
Okay. All right. So then with that $2 million and of that 775,000 be spent on one issue, is there other issues that we're going to address, or is that
When we get to
a
five,
part of it? Because I'm seeing
when you
here.
get to 5A, there's a whole breakdown.
Oh yeah, I know where the breakdown is, but is that the breakdown for the 4 years?
No, that's just the bond
It
ordinance
says
that is,
here that various improvements to township, it will be for 305,000. Various roadway and drainage improvements, 300,000. Acquisition of non-passenger vehicles for the township police, 620, and various improvements to the township will be 775.
that's this year's bond ordinance that you would
Okay.
be appropriating for.
All right, now, are we going to another one? And are we going to replicate what we have here? Are we going to try to put tennis courts the next time? Or what are we going to do?
Each year, the committee authorizes a bond ordinance for their capital budget. The capital plan is found in your budget document, which can be updated each year or throughout the year based on your capital budget that you introduce and adopt. This year's 2021 capital budget authorizes you to appropriate funds for phase 1 of this project. And it also authorizes other things as are listed that you just went through.
Right.
Next year, you'll do another capital budget and most likely, I would think, authorize phase 2 and other things that are on the capital list.
Yes, my question is, each year that we have a $2 million bond, it presents a penny or 2 penny payback, and then that is added to our taxes. Is that not right?
You're authorizing to go out for bonding. When you go out for bonding, that's when you are incurring debt or an increase in your tax. But it folds into your whole budget overall. It's not. It may
Yeah,
not,
I understand what you're saying.
You may have debt that falls off that replaces when you go out to permanently finance these items. That's the only time that you're authorizing a penny increase or however you're explaining it,
Mrs. Link, you've done this every year you're on committee.
No, we haven't had a bond
You
issue.
have to do a capital bond
We have a
for your capital improvements
expenditures, but we're
every year.
not doing bonds, $2 million bond.
We're not selling bonds. We're not selling bonds that here. You're authorizing the debt and creating the appropriation in order to go into enter into contracts to get these projects completed. When you sell bonds and borrow the money, that's when you have to budget for your principal and interest payments.
But last year, did we do a bond, a $2 million bond?
No. You
The
you
year
fully-
before, do we do a $2 million bond?
You fully funded it with capital surplus and
Okay.
within your budget.
Okay. Well, this is my question. What happens forward from here? 775,000 is, looking at the project, is not going to go too far. Even for our skating rink, if we were to build a skating rink, it would cost $3 million. So I know at 5.8 million that it's going to be successful. And you're saying that for the next 4 years, besides paying for this, we are also going to incur that
Not
debt.
necessarily. When you authorize debt, you're not raising taxes, so to speak, at that moment. All you're doing is giving us permission to go out for bonding. When you go out to fund those bond ordinances, then you have to include your principal payment and your interest payment in the subsequent budget year. Interest payment depending on when you authorize. But the way the township has authorized debt or gone out for bonding is looking at their financial plan and only incurring more debt when other debt falls off. So you don't have the peaks and valleys in your budget.
I'm gonna, let me just
Is it-
back us up one step here. All your questions, I believe, are pertaining to 5A. So let's go back to 4D and decide whether or not we want to have the special meeting as I outlined on June 29th to apply for these grants.
Well, I'd like to make a motion that we look at this the next meeting. I get more details so I can vote on it.
And
We
then
have
we'll-
to vote on this now, otherwise we won't have enough time, correct, to apply for this grant. This is,
I
all
believe
this
that-
is
oh, go
just a meeting, so we can apply for
Yeah.
this grant.
We've already advertised the meeting because we polled you and you said you all were available for the meeting. The deadline to submit the application is the 30th of June. At the meeting of the 29th, Brett will give you a presentation as to what the application contains and go forward. So we're just looking for you to confirm that all 5 of you will be here on the 29th for the meeting.
I would entertain a motion.
I'll motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Rita, I definitely want a roll call on this one, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
No.
Mr. Batali?
Yes.
And Mayor Kane?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no.
I'm kind of
Motion
shocked that
carries.
you're going against the
I'm
opportunity.
not going
for the
against
township
the
to
opportunity. I want to
gain
know
700
what the opportunity means.
to offset
I
taxes
want to
for
know, in
residents of this
order
town.
to
I'm
do
shocked.
this,
I really am.
what you need.
All right, we're going to move on to 5A.
Rodney, did you vote for it?
Yes, he did. Would you like Ms. Martina to read back the call for you?
No, I know it.
Okay.
No.
All right, moving on. 5A, ordinance 1960-2021, an ordinance providing for various 2021 capital improvements by and in the Township of Hamilton in the County of Atlantic and State of New Jersey, appropriating $2 million, therefore, and authorizing the issuance of $1,902,917 bonds or notes to finance as part of the costs thereof. I think most of your questions were answered, but if you have more, now's the appropriate time to ask those questions.
No, I'd like to see it in writing, and I'd like to see, the evaluations, what the engineering costs are, and so on and so forth. I was surprised that Rodney did vote to pass this.
All right.
But at any rate, I won't have all my questions. That's why I wanted to delay this, but you say if we delay it, you can still apply for this grant, can't you, if you delay it?
No. The deadline to have it in is the June 30th. We're having a meeting on the 29th, so we have to do a little running around on the 30th to get minutes done and everything else done to get it
Okay.
timely submitted.
All right, so I understand that part. Why are we waiting till this time to, we have 1 day to submit it by the 30th? It seems to me as though we really you know, we're pushed against the wall
Well,
to do
I
it.
think you're misunderstanding what's happening here. We're not waiting till the last minute. We approved the recreation plan. We approved the capital expenditures when they were introduced. We said yes to those. And now we're to the point, what happened in the interim of that, your public works director took the initiative and went out and sought grants to help offset the cost to the taxpayers. And he's under a deadline to get that done. That's what we're discussing here.
Yeah, but
We're
you're
getting in the
saying,
weeds on other issues.
but you're saying that we're not offsetting it, we're adding to it.
Because we appropriated X amount of dollars to the project over the next 3 years. This will be in addition to what's going to be needed to complete the project. We're not expanding the project. The project is the project that was originally discussed. This is just money that's going to help offset the cost to the taxpayers.
What Cynthia said, I think, hear me out here. You can take this money and we can use it towards our costs and offset the costs, or, correct me if I'm wrong, we could put it on top and do more than what we plan to do. That's what she said.
Yeah.
We're not making that decision right now that that's what we're going to do. That's you have the option.
I realize that we have the option, but I am looking forward to the following debts that are going to incur, maybe not, maybe we have it stored away somewhere in our budget, but $775,000 each year for 4 years, that's a lot of money.
And it has to be approved by everybody up here. This is the first phase of this. So next year, we may look at it and say, wow, we're not, I don't think we can do this year. We're gonna have to push it off a year, but at least with this, it gets things going. It'll get the parking lot done, the concession stand, and bathrooms, which is sorely needed out there.
Oh, I realize that. I thought we
Ms.
had,
Link, did you receive the 2021 municipal data sheet that was included in our packet?
I did, and
Did
I
you look
looked
through
through it,
If you look
yes.
through on sheet 40C, C4, it outlines the anticipated schedule that shows you each and everything that it answers all your questions.
Well, let me see. I'll get it right now. You tell me what page it is, I'll look at it,
Sheet 40C,
okay?
designated on the bottom right-hand side as
Sheet
C4.
40C says $2 million.
Correct, and it shows you how it's broken down.
I don't see where it says how it's broken down.
If you go to the fifth line for park improvements, it shows the $775,000 for
All right.
2021 and then the subsequent
I'm gonna-
appropriations.
I looked through this, I tried to see where the individual things that are gonna be covered. Hey, I've been on this before, and we have talked about the bathrooms, we've talked about the snack bar, we've talked about all this before, and we know it's very much needed, but I didn't see it in this outline.
240Cs.
240?
There's two of them.
Oh, there's
back-
two
the back
40s.
That's a 6-year projection, it's
Well,
okay.
I didn't see that.
And at this point,
It's
I
gonna change
agree with
anyway.
what you just said. We talked about it, we talked about it, we talked about it. Now we're taking action on it, and we're making it
I
happen.
don't
Enough
recall
talking,
going to
let's-
any
let's-
committee meetings regarding this.
Okay, well,
I don't recall.
you are,
I was on the recreation board. Why wasn't I notified when all these
an
meetings
invitation
were
was
taking?
sent out to everyone, and they attended meetings to go through this.
Really?
Yes,
Yeah, I don't recall that.
I sat in on them.
I don't recall all these meetings that were taking place. I mean, if all these meetings were taking place and the people were, just complaining about everything that we have here and that we need, I would certainly, but I felt left out of the picture. I did not receive
You're taking it personal.
I
don't
did not
understand.
receive, and.
Do you want to do it for the children or you don't? It's a simple decision here.
No,
Do you want to
we
do it or
will-
not?
we
You said
will-
we've been talking about it, you've been talking about it, it's been an idea of yours. It's very simple. Do you want to do it or don't you? It's outlined, that you've been given an extensive amount of information to go over, review, and make a decision.
No, I don't think that's fair to say because I haven't been totally apprised of all the avenues of how we're doing it, how much it's costing, and so on and so forth.
Listen, I can go back and check your vote
I
on the
got my
last-
budget
when we
out
approved it
here.
the first time. I'm not, I don't have that information in front of me, but, that's the time when you should have asked the questions that you're asking now.
When do we have all
We've
these
now put the
meetings?
time and homework into this, and we're moving forward with it. And, it's a simple question. You want to do it or you don't?
I want to do it correctly, and I
And I believe that-
want to do that which will not be a surprise next year. We don't get the one ball field done, or, certain things you've sort of promised.
Again, that's why you have the forecast here. If you looked at sheet 40C, you would see that. That is why it's there. It was provided to you in the packet to go through, so you understood that.
No.
Just to add one more thing to it, Committeewoman Link, is that before the thing goes out to bid, you'll be apprised of what's going to be bid, what's the scope of work will be included in that bid. The engineer will provide you with that information in one of these meetings to say, these are the 4 or 5 things which are included in the bid package which is going out. And the committee, if they, at that time, wants to delete something, add something, you'll have your last chance to do it before you go out to bid.
As I say, I'm not opposed to it, but I would like to be informed about it. And as you say, these things will go out to bid. We will vote on whether the bids are acceptable or they're not. But I think it's a little vague when you say park improvements, $3,999,950,000. Lake Lenape improvements, $2 million. If that listing on 40C was really vague, and as when we make decisions from this dais, we want to make sure it's going to be a successful project and that we will have the funds to do it with. I certainly would not preclude. I wanted to have a little bit more time, like for the next meeting, but you say it can't happen because we're against the wall on it.
That's correct.
So, I mean, that settles that. But now, as we move forward, all of our citizenry want to know what these monies are being spent on, and I want to inform them of what they're being spent on. And I feel as though the only way that is possible is to know the meetings, being at the meetings where all these things were decided. And our mayor says that he had notified me, but I don't have that notification.
This, we all received months ago.
That doesn't, I know.
And I went through, I took the time and went through it. I took the time and went through
I
it.
have it right here.
But I made the phone calls that I needed to make. I reached out to the employees that I needed to speak to understand the numbers and make sure that I knew what I was voting on.
Well, then
That's
then didn't you then import that to me and put it in writing?
Because I'm not your secretary.
Oh, well, you're our mayor.
I mean, you're up here just like I am. Take the time, read through it, dive into the information, and form your own opinion.
Well, I feel as though I was left out of that decision-making over the last year.
You've been on Township Committee for, I can't even count the years. There's been no improvement to recreation in that entire time. Guess
No,
what?
we
We're
did
going
put,
to
we
improve
did,
recreation
we
in
did
Hamilton
put 2
Township.
baseball fields in. We did allocate money for the drainage problem, which was over and over and over again. We didn't have the monies left to make the appropriate snack bar and appropriate field house. And I realize all that. I think that it's vital because, number one, our kids are our most vital
Absolutely.
resource. But we need to do it correctly instead of, well, I don't know if we have enough $775,000 next year. Oh, but you promised. You
I didn't
promised.
promise anybody anything
No,
like
it
that.
came forward as a plan. So You didn't promise anybody, but we're beginning the process.
We're making a plan, correct?
Okay, well, that's good. We need a plan. And you're saying that I want to be apprised as to how that plan will go forward. What steps next year? What steps the following year? I was assigned in the beginning of the year to be on recreation. During the pandemic, I don't know, maybe things came out of my email, but I didn't see it.
Mrs. Link, you have my personal cell phone number. You have used it on occasion. You could reach out to me at any time and ask me questions. I'd be more than happy to fill you in.
Okay.
But just so you know, I mean, part of it is I did my homework, and that's how I come up with the conscious understanding of what's happening and what we're doing here. But you can reach out to me anytime. I'd be more than happy to. Miss Cynthia and I spent numerous phone calls together, having her explain each item to me. And you know, that, because that's what I want to know what I'm voting on. So, you know, it's just, these questions could have been answered well in advance of this meeting. They could have been answered by reviewing the packet, reviewing the budget, reviewing the projections over the years, and asking those questions, and you could have been satisfied before we even sat up here.
I don't agree with you, but you
I'm gonna
can
move
have
on
your
to-
opinion and I'll have mine.
So I'll entertain a motion for 5A, please.
Mayor, you have to conduct a public hearing, open up to the public, please.
Okay. Thank you, Peter. At this point, I'd like to open up to the public on 5A ordinance 1960-2020, as we were just discussing. Is there anybody in the public that wishes to speak? Mr. Carrigan?
About 5A, is there anything in there for road improvements?
Yes.
Yes.
300,000.
Anything in the Laureldale section?
Jim, we don't have that actual breakdown here with us this evening, but there is a pavement management program that we utilized in the township that does list those projects in order and which ones will be getting done with the funds that were set aside.
Okay.
Thank you. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak on this item? Seeing no one, I'll entertain a motion to close the public portion.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 I will now consider a motion on 5A, ordinance 1960-2021.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
I have a second. Rita, could I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek,
Yes.
Mr. Gishard,
Yes.
Mrs. Link,
Yes.
Mr. Vitale,
Yes.
Mayor Kane.
Yes.
All yes and
Brett,
adopted.
thank you again for doing the homework on that and getting us to this point. Next, we'll move on to 6, introduction of ordinance, public hearing to be held July 6th, 2021. First one we have is ordinance 1961-2021. This is an ordinance amending ordinance 1785-2016 to create and establish.
1785, 2015. Want to make sure we get this right.
Oh, I have 16 on my list.
really?
Yeah, look right here.
1785, 2015.
Okay.
Correct.
On our agenda, it says, and that's where I'm reading it off of.
Gotcha.
All right, so I will correct that. On the agenda, it actually says 2016.
It does.
On the ordinance itself, it says 1785, 2015. To create and establish appellate jurisdiction and/or denial of certificates of appropriateness or the designation and/or de-designation of any structure or property as a historic landmark as established in the ordinances of Hamilton Township.
Mr. Mayor, would I
Yes,
be
please.
permitted to comment? When I looked at the history of the two ordinances, both amending the original ordinance, it was very complex. And when you compared it to the statute, and when you compared it to ordinances of like kind in different places, it became clear to me that there could be room for misinterpretation if we were to assemble an ordinance taking into account everything that's in both of those amendments. So what I did is, and I put it in a letter to all of you as well, I know what the problem is. The problem is you want to create jurisdiction of an appellate review in one body. I simplified this by simply adding a proviso that says that the planning board will have jurisdiction with respect to appeals from the HPC, not only as it relates to certificates of appropriateness, but as it relates to active appointments, decelerations, de-appointments. I think that what it does is it puts the jurisdiction in the planning board to resolve what I think is the eminent issue. So I simplified it in that respect. I took it on myself to do that. I hope that you understand why I did it. But the bottom line is there's at least a place to go for someone to get equal protection and due process as it relates to any decision. I won't say any decision. I'll say the decisions of the HPC, which seem to be at issue right now. All know the history. I don't need to relive it. The planning board made a decision. That decision is appealable to the Superior Court. And there was a question as to whether or not the planning board even had the right to do so. This simplification ends that problem.
And I think it's important to note that this was sent to the planning board for review to get to this point. The planning board came back with a recommendation, positive recommendation to the Township Committee.
And it'll have to be reviewed by the state as well. But it takes care of what I perceive to be the problem. Where does someone go who's aggrieved? And as I told you before, as a constitutional attorney, everybody's got the right to be heard somewhere. That's what it does.
Now, does this make it, does it take it to the point where the HPC should have legal representation at their meetings?
Could you say that again, Carl?
Does this take it to the level where the HPC should now have legal representation at their meetings?
This does not, but the first amendatory ordinance, and probably the initiating ordinance does, allow for the governing body to assign the solicitor to be part of the HPC proceedings. Historically, that has not occurred. But in the case that caused this amendment, it did occur.
Mm-hmm.
So there is a proviso in the original, I won't say the original, I'll say the original amendment that allows the HPC to have representation, to retain experts. It exists.
But at this point, we don't need to make sure they have a solicitor there every one of their meetings, just as on a as
I can't
needed.
say that. I think that's a decision that they
That's,
need.
yeah, I understand.
They need to come to you and say, hey, on this particular event, which they did in this one case, we need representation, or we need an engineer, or we need help. And I think with the surveys that are undergoing, you may see that. But right now, I chose to simplify this to present a way to give due process to somebody that anybody deserves it.
Are you saying that they can present their case, and if they don't like it, the decision, they would take it to the state?
What I'm saying is that this amendment, should you choose to pass it, takes the appellate jurisdiction beyond just reviewing the approval or denial of a certificate of appropriateness, which was the interpretation of my counterpart, who is the solicitor for the planning board. And there's reasons he decided that, and there's reasons in the law. What I have done is said, let's go beyond that. Let's talk about situations which are more than certificates of appropriateness.
Which gives the avenue for the people who are aggrieved. to follow.
Avenue, I'm sorry, were you done?
No, yeah.
The avenue, Judy, is that the presentation for whatever relief there is made to the HPC. They hear the evidence, they make a determination. If the applicant is aggrieved by that determination, the three areas that we're amending here allow the applicant to appeal that to the planning board. The planning board hears evidence. It can be de novo, which means anew, or it can be by presenting evidence that was not presented. And they would decide. If the applicant is still dissatisfied with the outcome and decision of the planning board, their next step would be the Superior Court of New Jersey.
Now, will the HPC require a lawyer or legal advice when
I
it
don't know.
comes to that?
I don't know. I would think that there would be circumstances where they might.
Yeah. Okay.
And just to
But-
clarify, we are not passing this, we're just voting on introducing it.
Thank you.
Committee, what's your pleasure?
I make a motion to move ordinance 1961-2021.
I have a motion.
Second?
I have a second. Let's roll call this, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
No.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
4 yes, 1 no. Ordinance is introduced, public hearing set for July the 6th.
All right, moving on. Award of bids, contracts, and change orders. 7A is a resolution to renew Special Logic, Data Logic licensing agreement with Special Data Logic, Inc. in the amount of $32,500.
What is this?
This,
No, I went through it. Just, can you give us a quick?
Let me go. This is the license for our construction program. Yeah.
So it's your what?
It's the licensing for the construction office and codes and planning and zoning.
We don't have that already, or
We have to renew the license every year.
every year?
Yes.
And we voted on this last year?
Well, I would assume so. I wasn't here, so I can't say you did or didn't. The reason why it's brought before you because of the threshold, and the vendor is no longer under state contract. So this falls under that window contract for your pay to play between your 17.5 and your 40,000. So it's
Thanks. That sounds reasonable.
And they provide,
the license to use the product. It's a software.
software,
Yeah.
computerware. Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
it says up to 25 computer seats or named user support, and portal for 1 year includes 25 training credits per year. Committee, what's your pleasure?
I'll move.
Second.
There is a motion and a second. We're spending money. Can I get a roll call?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I would like to pull C, and we'll move that to the end. Does anyone else have any questions on anything on the consent agenda? If not, I'll entertain a motion to move.
Could you pull B and have it voted on independently?
We're also going to remove B.
But B has to be voted on before C.
Okay, I got you. Thank you. So we'll do A, and then we'll do D through L. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed? Ayes have it. Next, we'll move on to 8B. This is a resolution authorizing person-to-person transfer of plenary retail consumption license number 011233 012004 from Yogi's All-American Grill and Sports Bar, LLC, to Renaissance Beverages, LLC. Mr. Seaman? You wanted me to move that up first? Any comments on it, or?
Is,
pretty
is this a
straightforward.
is this a new business taking over
Yes.
Yogi's?
That would belong in Rita's arena.
Yeah, this is a transfer of the liquor license, and I have a note here from Yogi. Don't worry about the number. Then that last number, it's going to change tonight, twice probably. So please don't be concerned about that. It's just the transfer of the liquor license. We've been working on this for a while, so it'll transfer from Yogi's to new owners, Renaissance Beverages, LLC, and then C will be the renewal of the license in the name of the new owner. That's why that has to be last.
All right,
I make a motion to move 8B.
I have a motion.
Second.
Second, can I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we have 8C, and this is a renewal, resolution for renewal of 2021-2022 liquor licenses. There is a list attached, as you will see.
I'll motion.
I have a motion,
Second.
second. All, you know what, let's just roll call it, Rita.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, now we're going to move on to personnel. And we'll begin with a resolution to appoint Lindsay Pritchka as a full-time communications officer for the police department at a salary of $42,086.07, effective June 22nd, 2021.
How did you pronounce that name?
Lindsay Pritchka.
Which,
George Five left, huh?
Questions, comments, motion?
I'll make a motion. Move 9A.
second?
I have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we have 9B, resolution appointing Lisa Marcolongo, the Township of Hamilton Municipal Alliance Coordinator, effective July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, at a $2,000 annually to be paid quarterly from the 2021-2022 Municipal Alliance Grant as recommended by the Municipal Alliance Chair.
Is that money coming out of the grant, the, salary, or the,
It comes out of the Municipal Alliance grant money that we receive every year.
okay?
Who is the Municipal Alliance Chair? Is that Lisa? Catalano. It's Catalano? Okay. Curious.
That's who actually asked to have it put on, so. Questions, comments, motion?
So moved?
Move 9A.
I have a motion and a second. Rita, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we have 9C, resolutions appointing Municipal Alliance regular members for the term July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022. Mr. Sandman, do I have to read the names for the record, or are we okay there?
Are they all renewals?
Yes.
Okay. Questions, comments, motion?
So moved.
We have a motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
Is that a non-paying position?
Correct.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
That's why I did
Excuse
that. You're fine. Next, we'll move on to 9D, resolution appointing Caitlin Rizzo as a beach badge checker for the Cove 2021 season at $12 an hour, effective June 24th, 2021.
So moved.
Second?
Motion second, roll call.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we have 9E, resolution appointing Saif Mahab as a full-time police officer for the police department at academy salary of the CBA with a salary of $44,596.44. Start date to be determined, contingent upon successful completion of the background process.
So moved.
Is this in reaction to people who are leaving
Absolutely, yes, that's
Okay.
correct.
so that we have 5 people
Yes,
leaving?
we're not gaining anybody. I think Greg explained this at the last meeting. We're not gaining anybody. There's a couple retiring. I'm gonna look at Anthony up there. We had a couple retiring.
Yes. And a couple left for other police departments.
Okay. So we're not gaining anybody. We're not increasing the amount of employees or anything.
And that was approved by the CFO, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to clarify it.
And they're coming in at starting salary rather than retiring salary.
Big difference.
You have a motion on the floor with no
Yes.
second.
Rita, can we get a roll call, please?
I didn't hear a second.
I'll
Second,
second.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we have 9F. This is a resolution appointing Adam Rayner as a full-time police officer for the police department at step 1 of the CBA with a salary of $46,882.65. Start date to be determined, contingent upon successful completion of the background process.
So moved.
Second,
Roll call, Rita.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
9G, resolution appointing Kyle McKnight as a full-time police officer for the police department at step 1 of the CBA with a salary of $46,882.65. Start date to be determined, contingent upon successful completion of the background process.
So moved.
Second,
Motion second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Next, we have 9H, resolution appointing Matthew Wood as a full-time police officer for the police department at step 1 of the CBA with a salary of $46,882.65. Start date to be determined, contingent upon successful completion of the background process.
So moved.
Second,
Motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes, I just
Oh,
want to
yeah.
add one comment. Sitting in on these interviews with Mr. Cheek, if this is an example of what we have to look forward in the future, very, very impressive individuals that we interviewed. I assume you would agree.
I couldn't agree more. I was going to comment on that myself, but it was very enjoyable to see these young men and the quality guys that came in. It was quite enjoyable.
I noticed that one was $12 an hour, another was $13 an hour. What makes the difference?
Oh, you're talking about
Each badge checker and a
each
lifeguard.
bag checker.
So D, that we appointed, Caitlin is a beach badge checker. The one we're about to do right now is a lifeguard. Answer, please?
Yep.
We're good? So next, we'll consider 9I, resolution to appoint Nicole Sharfetter as a lifeguard for the Cove 2021 season at $13 per hour, effective June 24th, 2021.
So moved,
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Martina, roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor King?
Yes.
All yes and carried.
All right, next we have minutes, regular meeting minutes of June 7th, 2021.
Move.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. All right, 10B, minutes, executive session meeting, June 7th, 2021.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
I have a motion. I have a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
and Mayor Kane.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
And lastly, we have approval of C bills. Bill list total $751,565.15. Come on, that's an easy one for you.
So moved.
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Guys are sissies.
And
Always make me do it.
roll call, please.
Mr. Cheek?
Yes.
Mr. Gishard?
Yes.
Mrs. Link?
Yes.
Mr. Vitale?
Yes.
Mayor Kane.
Yes.
All yes and carried.
Pay the bills.
Next, we have reports. Mr. Administrator?
The other thing I want to report on is the county municipal court system. Since your last meeting, Northfield and Leewood have chosen not to introduce the ordinances onto the shared services. They are entertaining ordinance to join the county system. Hamilton Township did not provide any information to the county to get a cost estimate for it. So Cynthia and I are going to work on preparing the last couple of years' cost analysis to submit to the county and see what they come back to us with, and I'll keep you in the loop about it. I did meet with the court administrator last week to let her know that I was starting the process so that the staff was aware of what we were doing.
I appreciate that.
How many municipalities have opted to go to the county?
I think the last number I saw was 11.
11?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Did you ask for that cost information for us to look at?
Yeah.
Yes.
Possibly join the county?
Yes. We're putting together 16, 17, 18, 19 to submit to them so that they can average it and compare it to what our cost is and what they can provide it to us for by them running it themselves.
And I want to be clear, we've taken no position on this. This is a opportunity to find out the true cost of what it does cost us to operate, and eventually what the county will tell us they could either save us or what the difference would be. So once we receive those numbers, it would be presented back to the committee as a whole for consideration on how we'd want to proceed.
We're just doing our due diligence to find out if it's in our Hamilton Township's best interest to consider it. Until we know what their budget number is to us, we can't make that decision.
Exactly.
I have a question. If the county takes it over, are all the people who have to pay their tickets, do they come to the middle of Mays Landing to do that?
Yes, the simple answer is yes. The complex answer is that most payments to municipal court is done online now through credit cards. There's not that many people come to the window to pay it. And the Judge Mendez and the other judges involved with this process are all saying that 75% of all municipal court cases in the future will be done via Zoom. They've gotten used to that in the past year. And the only ones that will probably happen in person will be DWI's domestic battery assault cases, things where there's potential jail time involved with it. But all other cases will be done via Zoom. And for the Hamilton Township residents, it's just a matter of, driving down the street to go to the courthouse instead of coming here, if it goes forward.
Is this something other municipalities are going to?
Yes, 11 municipalities have passed resolutions expressing their interest in joining. I didn't check, tonight, but today the state assembly and state Senate committees were, the entire assembly, entire Senate was supposed to vote on this legislation to approve it. It was previously passed by both houses. And Atlantic County would be the first county to implement this program on a statewide basis. Supreme Court Justice Rappner has made it, I don't want to say a priority of his, but he's made his opinion known that he thinks that countywide municipal court system is the wave of the future in New Jersey.
Any other questions? Well, we'll look forward to getting those numbers when you get them compiled, and we can make a decision.
And I have nothing further to report, Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Solicitor.
That was my report, too.
Okay.
Stole his thunder.
Mr. Mr. Engineer?
Yeah, Mayor and Committee, I have a few items. First, Lake Lenape Dam. I just want to report that there's no change in status with the WSP is still in the process of designing the replacement dam, and the powerhouse improvements are up at DEP and Pinelands under review currently. The next dam committee meeting is going to be next Monday, the 28th at 2 p.m. We're not going to let the county
We will have a meeting.
cancel. We will have a meeting. The next item is Cotton Mill Bridge. I report that Cotton Mill Bridge will open before July 4th, or sooner, much sooner, we hope. There's 3 outstanding items. Line striping, which was scheduled for tomorrow. With the bad weather coming in, I don't know if they'll stripe it tomorrow. We're waiting for signs. And the third item is Comcast cable. It would make sense that you would think Comcast would show up while the bridge is closed and run their cable, but I don't believe Comcast is going to hold us, the county, up from opening that bridge. So the bridge could be pretty soon. It could be any time now, but
And there will be no ribbon cutting, no parties, nothing like that. When that bridge is ready to open, it will open.
no delays.
No delays.
Is the county going to provide a sign that says you can now use the bridge?
They're going to take all their signs down.
Oh, okay. So the absence of
I
a
think-
sign.
It's going to be non-ceremonial. I think one day somebody's going to pull up and say, it's open, I'm going to drive across it. And I think we're just going to see, the start of our new bridge being operational.
Could it be the 5 of us in the car together?
On a golf cart.
Is that because of COVID?
I'm sorry?
Is that because of COVID that it's being done this way?
They have no
I think-
ceremony.
I think it's been so long, I think there's this anxiousness just to get it open. That's my take on it when I talk to the county.
Have you had the opportunity to drive down and look at it?
No, I haven't.
It's, if I can call a bridge beautiful, it really is. They did a fantastic job. It's definitely going to add as a focal point to the town, especially when we get the dam done. So it's very, very nice.
Good.
I
Next,
resisted the urge to drive across it the other day.
I just have a few more items. Atlantic Avenue, South State will be back to work Monday on paving that bridge. So I'm sorry, paving that roadway. So we will see some activity resume on Atlantic Avenue starting next Monday. New York Avenue Bridge, again, I continue to talk to the county. We expect that bridge to be open in the fall, most likely the month of November. That the precast panels have been ordered. It's a 14-week lead time on that, which puts us into late September, early October. So we will see that bridge open back up sometime this fall, likely in November. If you've been by Public Works, you'll notice that the Public Works pole barn is substantially complete. The contractor's finishing up, so we should see the garage doors on there anytime now, and I think Public Works will be happy to see that building completed before long.
Can you explain how the precast will increase the speed at which we will see New York Avenue?
Yes. Under normal circumstances, the county would they've hired a design engineer to design the replacement structure. That design would normally put it out to bid where the contractor will be responsible for fabrication and installation of all materials. This is a little different. When the county recognized how long it takes lead time for certain materials, they jumped ahead and decided if they design the precast and order the precast and pay for the precast, that relieves the contractor from having that task to do in his bid. So the county ordered the precast, which is a 14-week lead time, and they went ahead and they're working on their design. They'll put it out to bid. So the two will come together. So they've shortened the time schedule.
Very good.
Anything else, Steve?
No, thank you, Mayor.
We'll move on to Township Committee. Mrs. Link?
I want to reiterate my desire to have more things done for our recreation, and I don't want it to be misinterpreted that I don't. I just feel as though we must proceed with a little bit more detail as far as my mind is concerned, and I wanted to delay the voting on the, bond, but understanding that the next step will be June 29th. I think it's totally appropriate. But I think there are other things that should be on our wish list, and that's senior citizen center, a community center, things for tennis. There are such a raft of things that maybe will be considered in the future. I understand you have to get one thing done and move to the next. But there are, I don't know the conditions of the soccer fields. I know in talking to Madampa that he's always complaining, but he always complained. So I wasn't, but they always say that they would like to have better fields and so on and so forth. So I am definitely, make it affordable to the kids, that we need these kids, are precious children of our community. We need them busy, and we need them engaged in any way we can do that. And I think this project will begin a new awakening and new pride in our facilities, because I've known from before that they consider, they feel as though what we have presently is not a great impression on people that come and play the playoff games and stuff like that. So I think that will be an asset to people settling here and raising their children here. So I think overall it will be a wonderful thing. So,
Anything else, Mrs. Ling?
no, that's it.
Mr. Patali?
I want to say welcome to our interim administrator. Welcome to your first meeting.
Thank you.
Good to have you. Congratulations to all the to our new police officers. They are coming into a very professional, well-run, community-oriented police department, and I wish them all the best of luck. The Cove opened yesterday. I stopped by. It was not overly crowded, but there was a good crowd there. From what I heard, there were a couple of people that turned away and walked away, didn't want to pay the fees that are being charged. But for the most part, everybody, they were fine with it. The Cove looks fantastic. Great job to Public Works. The bathroom, I heard everybody was happy with the bathrooms. I think, are the floors done now? Are they officially done, or a little bit more? But everybody was saying that they're very pleased with the bathroom, so good work there. Once again, congratulations to all the new graduates. I was at the Davie School graduation today. It was a little warm, but everything went off without a hitch. And I know Oak was Friday night, quite a few last week, so congratulations to all of them. And best of luck in the future. And that's really all I have. Reagan, Maddie, miss you, love you. Hope to see you soon.
Thank you. Mr. Chief?
First of all, I'd like to congratulate the 4 police officers. As I said earlier, it was a very, very good interview. Just the quality that these young men showed was unbelievable. To Brett, thank you for going out of your way for the grant application.
Yeah.
Cove looks good. You're doing a hell of a job, and that's above and beyond what you had to do. And then congratulations on the Oakcrest grads and the Davies grads. And that's all I have.
Mr. Short.
I'd like to congratulate Oakquist and Davies also. And second, the comments made by, I guess, all the members. We certainly had some beautiful weather lately. I hope you've all had a chance to take advantage of it. And I hope you're all getting your shots so we can say goodbye to this epidemic. That's all I have.
Very good.
Thank you, Mr. Short. Firstly, obviously, I'd like to echo the same comments of the rest of the committee. I am proud to see that we are moving forward finally, again, with the expansion of recreation. It is time. Our facilities need to be brought up to a higher standard, and we're in the process of doing that. I'm excited about it, and I can't wait to see a shovel get in the ground. So I hope you're on those permits. I'd like to also wish all the fathers out there and father figures a happy belated Father's Day. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves and got to spend some time with family. And this week, I believe the date is June 23rd. The Atlantic County Bikeway West feasibility study is having a virtual public meeting at www.sjtpo.org. /AC Bikeway West. This is part of a feasibility study for the continuation of the 16-mile gap in the South Jersey Trail Network. So they're looking for input from people in Hamilton Township regarding the bikeway path and various other things. So if you have time and you have interest in it, I suggest that you go to that website. Again, it's www.sjtpo.org /AC Bikeway West. There's a presentation on there, there's videos, and you can see exactly what they're looking to try and accomplish. And I know on Carl's wish list, he'd love to see the trestle rebuilt and continued on. And I, of course, would love to see that bikeway go right past that train station we have in downtown Mays Landing. So if you have the time, please go on, give your input, and maybe make a difference, and maybe we see some of those things come to light with hopefully some grant money. So with that, I will open it up to the public. Is there anyone in the public that wishes to speak? Hearing none, if you wish, come up to the microphone, please.
My name is Anthony Cortez. I'm from the municipal area. The last chief that was there before, Jamie, and I don't want you to forget about our fire department. Checking into it, they were supposed to get back to us and let us know what's going on with it. I know they're checking about the property and everything like that, but from knowing the history, it's the people's property. It's the fire company. And I'd like some word of what's going on. If you can investigate it and check
I
it.
had that as part of my notes, and I skipped over it when I read the presentation. We are moving forward with it.
Okay.
At the last meeting, there was an overview of what we're looking to accomplish out there and the time frame in which we wanted to make sure the polling place was open for, obviously, for the election.
Of course.
And coming up, I believe, the 29th, is it? The 29th, we will be one step closer to obtaining that building so we can get a fire truck back in there. So we have to wait for that meeting to take place. Once it does, we will be able to update you on exactly when that'll happen. But I tell you,
Okay, and what's
it'll be
happening?
sooner than later.
And also what's happened to the assets of the fire company as well. All right, just wanted to put that out there. And
I just want you to know we've been working on it ever since the meeting that I attended with you, and you spoke very
know.
passionately about at the Lundy Center, so it is,
We're waiting for that.
Yeah.
Word coming.
you'll hear more, I'm sure, in the next month.
The other thing is, I'm glad about the bridges getting done.
Bridge is getting done.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't take long for the two that are in town. When we had a disaster of 3 bridges going down, you know, we stepped it up and got them out of the way quick with those bridges. So I'm glad it's getting done. We need that out of the way. And they need to look also to the one that's coming into town. That's one over where it used to be the train station. There's train coming through. That bridge there. I know it's a state bridge, but they need to also look at that, you know, and take a look at it.
We inquired about that. Steve
You know what I'm
inquired
talking
about
about,
it.
right?
I did. The state has no plans to do.
Something's, you know, how old is that bridge and how long it's been there? They need to really look at these things here and there.
I mean, we made our voices heard. So, I mean, all we did was inquire about it.
Yeah.
To find out where they're at, what's going on.
The liability of that bridges, because, you know, you never know what may happen if these bridges are not right for these tractor trailers and everything else that are going through there. These wide load things going down the roads. I've seen even for the nuclear plants, escorted by the state police going through here and going to the Delaware Bridge, okay? So that's not the only thing that goes through here in this town. There's a lot of things that go through this town that goes over these bridges and go that way, you know, just to let you know, all right?
Thank you for your service in MISPA, and thank you for carrying it.
Yeah, and I look at it for the whole township, not just MISPA, but everyone in this township, you know. Go ahead.
If I could answer. Sure. When New York Avenue Bridge went down, Carl was on the phone with me that morning and Brett. And what came out of a lot of those discussions was Carl said to me, I wonder what the condition of the rest of the bridges are in our township. So 2-3 weeks ago, I contacted the county bridge engineer.
Right.
And he's preparing the list of the bridge inspections for myself, Brett, Carl, to take a look at them. We want to know the condition of our bridges.
Right.
So we don't want to leave it up to, it's actually not the county, it's actually DOT does all the inspections on bridges, but we want to read those and be one step ahead if there's a problem.
Right.
But the bridge at Spoonie's Marina, a lot of calls came in on that recently. I contacted the DOT, and there is nothing planned for improving that bridge at all. They've done some very minor surveying work out there. That's why there's vehicles out there, and a lot of people say,
Right.
what's going on with that bridge? There's nothing on the books on that bridge right now, but
Okay.
very soon I'll have all the bridge inspection reports. I'll share it with Brett and Carl, and
Right.
we want to read it, and we're on it. We don't want to see another New
Okay.
York Avenue Bridge.
Well, we just, you know, just throwing it out there so that way, you know, we can start looking into these things. So in case something happens, we
Yes.
don't need that to happen here
No.
in our town.
No.
And looking at ways of improving roads through like West Jersey to cut off New York Avenue. I mean, we spent a lot of money on New York Avenue. A lot of money was spent on that New York Avenue.
$193,000 we spent.
More than that.
It was a grant last year.
I know that.
Okay.
There was $4 million. There's been quite a lot of money been pumped into New York Avenue. You know, tar road, everything was coming down again, and they put it up again, another bond for that. You know, there was a lot of money bumped into that New York Avenue, and let's get it right. Let's get it right. That's all.
We have nothing to do with
Yeah,
the bridge.
I know that. This has been in the past too, as well.
I don't wish we had something
it's
to do
been
with the bridge.
ongoing. I've
That
been
could be the
seeing
county.
Yeah, I've been seeing it. You know, that New York Avenue, and here is now the bridge, New York Avenue. You know, if you're gonna do it right. Let's get it done.
I believe that's what the county's doing now. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously they're doing it.
But there's other roads that could be opened up, like comes right off of up here at 40, or 40, going right into West Jersey Avenue. Take a look and see about that. It cuts time from everything going around. It just goes right down West Jersey Avenue. Things to look at, road improvements and stuff like that for the traffic that's here. Okay?
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We appreciate it.
Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion. Oh,
Speaking of New York Avenue, you know when that bridge will open?
Mr. Deputy Mayor, you want to take that one?
Steve mentioned about it. It's, what did they say? They're going to put it out to bid at the end of the summer,
The end of the summer, they'll put it out to bid.
and then they'll get to work on it in the fall. And I don't want to make any guesses on when. That's up to the county to come out and give a schedule.
It might be winter or spring then, huh?
It could be.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Gene. Mr. Percy.
Anthony brought up a subject which we perhaps talked about before. The railroad bridge. At one time, the state of New Jersey put in a sidewalk from McDonald's up to Spoonies. They put the project in. They said that they were going to put the sidewalk over the bridge. You were authorized to look into that, Steve. Where is that? They said they were going to do it. They never gave us an idea when, but they did say that they were going to do it at one time. So maybe you can follow up on that.
I will follow up on that. I recall you asked me a while ago. I will follow up on that.
And they were also going to do some projects down by Wrangell Barrow, their turnaround down there also. So I'll follow up on that.
I have a good contact person right now at the state. I will follow up on that.
Just one question about the amending the 2021 budget. You mentioned a figure that the federal government provided for the China virus funds. What was that amount again? 1,000,009 or
Jack, it was $2,690,000. $2,694,796.61. I tried to get them in 65 cents, but they wouldn't budge.
What are you going to do? You know, call Andrew's office. You get half of that this year.
Correct.
Now, originally when they put this out, they said that it would not be used at all to reduce your taxes. But you're indicating that you are not going to have an increase of 4 cents in the tax, and it's going to go down to 1.6.
The original proposal was 3. We reduced it to 1.4.
1.6, okay. So those funds were used to reduce the rate from 3 cents down to 1.6.
1.4.
How were those funds used? What?
John, so they could not reduce taxes below what they were last year. What was done was it replaced lost revenue, which reduced the proposed increase in their rate. So they couldn't use the funds to reduce the 2020 rate in 2021 to a lesser number.
Okay, so they were actually used in the rate process then. In other words, it wasn't used to fund programs. No funding of programs. So okay, all right, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Jack. Is there anyone else in the public that wishes to speak?
Make a motion to close public comment.
I have a motion. I have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Now I'll entertain a motion. We do not have executive session, Mr. Solicitor, correct? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.